18-year-old Harry Blitman, Philadelphia featherweight, had a fighting record of 32-0, who in 1928 would find himself on a big stage in front of a screaming audience of 25,000 spectators. It would be at the Philadelphia ballpark, in front of the featherweight champion and three-weight division all-time Hall of Fame champion, Tony Canzoneri. Canzoneri was also an NBA bantamweight champion. Now, Tony Canzoneri would be quite concerned because at the age of 18, he himself would find himself on a big stage in front of Bud Taylor, and that would be for the NBA bantamweight championship strap. He was so concerned that he would decide to make this match a non-title bout. I'm Scrapbook Boxing, and I would like to discuss Harry Blitman's career and that special night at the Philadelphia ballpark, right here, on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Born March 14, 1908, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Harry Blitman would die May 20th, 1972. He was just 62 years of age at the time of his death, and he would reside in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This North Philly featherweight southpaw stood 5'7", and his family, for many years, resided in North Central Philadelphia. Now, he himself went to Central High School, and he trained at Jimmy Costa's gym. That's located in South Philadelphia. And Harry Blitman was some fighter. You see, he was a southpaw with a monstrous jab, beautiful right hook. He bounced from side to side, and he had very, very good foot control. He moved his hands in circles, fenked the jab, fenked his head. Very sharp for a young man. And he would be met with Tony Canzoneri, who himself was 18 on the big stage. And Tony Canzoneri was very concerned because he was in there with a southpaw. And to his understanding, Harry Blitman was a masterful mindset. And he would find that out in the opening bell because the right jab kept pumping at him. Right hooks were hitting to the body and head. And it's early in the match. Tony Canzoneri understood immediately that he was in there with someone special. Now, Tony Canzoneri's style was to hold his hands low and bounce from side to side, stood straight up. But beautiful head movement and foot control usually got him out of trouble. But on this night, he would find some concern. His eye would begin to swell. His hand would start hurting him. And he would start having problems. And according to the Evening Post, Blitman had the current featherweight champion, Tony Canzoneri, confused with a snappy right jab and right hooks from the southpaw position. And he stated, the Evening Post, that he followed it up with an onslaught of punches. And it's a concern of the spectators, although they were Philadelphia spectators. But they admired Tony Canzoneri. And the crowd began to cheer, and they also began to somewhat boo. They didn't like the onslaught that Tony Canzoneri was being attacked with. And towards the end of the bell, Tony Canzoneri would stagger, and he would somewhat be saved by the bell. Now, when Harry Blitman would get back to his corner, he would yell at his manager. His manager was Maxie Hoff. And he told Maxie Hoff, I'm going to get him out of there next round. Maxie Hoff told him immediately, stay in control, because Tony Canzoneri is a master in that ring. And he will eventually get his second win. Yes, you have to fight one so far, but be smart. This is a non-title fight. And if you want a shot at that title, you must win this fight. So let's coast to victory. But the young man, Harry Blitman, couldn't control himself. And he tried to get Tony Canzoneri out of there. Now, the final bell would ring, and he would win. But he was yelled at in the locker room by his manager. We could have blown this one. If you want a shot, you have to listen to my instructions. So Max Hoffman was a very, very slick, fast-talking young man himself. And he would run over to the corner of Tony Canzoneri's manager, Sammy Goldman. And he would wheel and deal his way to a negotiating contract. He would claim to Canzoneri's manager that his boy, Harry Blitman, would take it easy on him next time. And they would come to an agreement. And they would get another opportunity at one another. But Manager Hoff would call Blitman with another offer, facing another Philadelphia champion, Benny Bass. And the winner would face the champion for the title. And Harry Blitman signed along with a posting of $5,000. It was a forfeit guarantee, which means that he couldn't get the $5,000 back if something would happen to him. And if he didn't show up, he would have to pay that same $5,000. One way or the other, he was out of $5,000. And that would make the weight of 126 pounds. Blitman found himself walking around at 142 pounds and 132 pounds 3 days before the fight. And they would tie up all the faucets so that Harry Blitman wouldn't take a drink of water because he had to come in at 126 pounds. And Harry Blitman, when no one was looking, would cuff his hands together, dip it into the toilet bowl, and drink some water because he was completely dehydrated. Now, the day of the match, it was anticipated that Harry Blitman would weigh 125 pounds, and he did. Came in 1 pound under. And he was guaranteed $25,000, 65% of his purse, of a total of guaranteed $25,000. And you had another 25,000 spectators who would show up once again. And I gotta tell you, this was some fight. It was at the Shry Park. All the reporters were there. And Harry Blitman felt as though he was a celebrity in that town. And Harry Blitman would KO Len Brenner in Allentown, Pennsylvania that year. And that was the mistake because he now thought he was a knockout artist. And he tried to slug with Benny Bass and got dropped in the first round and KO'd in the ninth. Ty Cobb from the Philadelphia Athletics told Blitman not to take it too hard. I want you to think, young man. I had that issue when I was at the plate. And Blitman thought that he would receive $15,000 from a $25,000 purse. But his manager began to deduct expenses. And Blitman would wind up receiving $9,500. Still a good payday for a young man who grew up in the streets. Blitman went into the Army in 1932. And he would have one more fight. And he would earn $300. And he worked for the Philadelphia Record. And he began to realize, my days are over in this fight game. But for once in my life, I can state that I fought a featherweight champion by the name of Tony Canzoneri. Tony Canzoneri is to your right, and Harry Blitman is to your left. And it's just one of many stories of young men who grew up needing work, needing to earn money. But Harry Blitman from Philadelphia was a fighter. This is Scrapbook Boxing. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. I wanted to share Harry Blitman's career with you because I feel as though he needs an opportunity to be heard. I'm going to be sharing many more fighters with you. Now, I've talked about Bushy Graham. I spoke about Bud Taylor, P. Saramento, but I didn't get too much into Al Singer. and Davia Bad, and Phil McGraw, and Baby Poncho, Al Bunny Davis, Jimmy Vaughn, Pete Nebo, Cleo Lataco, Cecil Payne, Balling Shaw. I would like to get into their careers. If you just hang in there with me, right here on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series, as days to come. Thanks for listening. Salute.